The ship that shouldn't exist. Word count approx 770. Style, third person, simple English, suspenseful opening. The stars above Sector 9 Delta were quiet. Trade routes buzzed with merchant ships, and Imperial patrols glided through space like silent hunters. Everything felt normal, until the scanners at Outpost Varn 3 picked up a signal. A ship had entered restricted space. The commander on duty, an old alien named Trell, frowned as the signal came closer. He tapped the console again. "That's strange," he muttered. "No ID code, no alliance tag." He called in reinforcements. Within minutes, 2 destroyers surrounded the unknown vessel. It just floated silently in the dark, huge, motionless, and unlike anything they had ever seen. Its hull was pitch black, darker than space itself. No lights, no windows, only one thing blinked, a small human emblem glowing in red. The crew stared at it. "Human?" one officer whispered. "That can't be right. Humans don't have ships like that." Humans to the Galactic Empire were nothing special. They were known as clever traders, decent explorers, but their technology? Primitive. At best, they built mid-range cruisers, nothing close to this. Trell ordered a full scan. The results came in, and they were terrifying. "Impossible," he said, his skin turning pale. The ship had no visible weapons, no heat signatures, but the energy readings were off the charts. It was like staring at a star that refused to shine. Worse, the material it was made from didn't match anything in the Imperial database, not even the secret vaults. "This ship, it's made of something we can't identify," one of the techs said nervously. "It's absorbing our scans." Trell backed away from the screen. Who could build such a thing? The bridge fell silent. Then came the second shock. The ship moved. No engine flare. No thrust. It simply shifted, like it had bent space itself. 1 second it was 20,000 kilometers away, the next it was directly in front of the command ship. Alarms blared, weapons powered up across the fleet. But before they could fire, a single message echoed across every channel. "This territory is no longer under Imperial control." It was a human voice, calm, cold, confident. Trell stood frozen. That voice, it sounded like a human. But no, human has this kind of power. He wasn't wrong. The Galactic Empire hadn't seen anything like this in centuries, maybe ever, and in that moment fear began to spread. All over the sector, high-ranking officials were alerted. Emergency meetings were called. One phrase kept repeating in hushed tones. "That can't be a human warship, right?" But the question remained unanswered. And the ship just waited, silent and unstoppable. Something had changed. The Empire just didn't know it yet. Echoes of fear, style, third person, simple English. Across the nearest Imperial command center, deep inside the capital, Moon of Eltrax, the emergency council gathered. 12 high-ranking members stood around a glowing table, staring at the live feed of the unknown warship. "This ship is not registered in any database," said the head analyst, his voice shaky. "Not from the Union, not from the Arcale Combine, not even from the Black Zone." The Emperor's military advisor, General Marin, slammed his hand on the table. "Then where did it come from?" The analyst hesitated. "From Earth." The room went still. "Earth? Humans?" scoffed another commander. "They can't even break our encryption without help. How could they create this?" No one had an answer. Back in orbit above Sector 9 Delta, the human warship had not moved again. It simply hovered, blocking all access to the trade lanes. Imperial cargo ships rerouted, traffic halted, and small colonies sent messages in panic. Inside the human vessel, only one person sat at the control chair. Her name was Mira. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a hero. She had grown up on one of Earth's distant moon colonies, working in scrapyards. But now she commanded a ship powered by something the galaxy didn't understand, something even she barely controlled. The ship was called Obsidian Wind, and it was built in secret, hidden, deep beneath the surface of Earth after decades of silence. Humanity had withdrawn from galactic politics, disrespected, mocked, forgotten, but they hadn't been idle. After Earth's communication blackout, many believed the humans had destroyed themselves. But Earth wasn't dead. Earth was preparing, and Mira had been chosen, not as a captain, but as a message that humanity had changed. Meanwhile, General Marin launched 3 fleets to intercept the warship. "If it's human, we'll destroy it," he growled. "They won't mock the Empire." But deep inside, he wasn't sure anymore. One of his assistants whispered, "Sir, if the humans built one of these, how many more could they have?" Moran didn't answer. He didn't want to. The first mistake, style, third person, simple English. 3 Imperial fleets approached Sector 9 Delta. Each fleet had 30 warships, destroyers, interceptors, and heavy cruisers, armed with plasma cannons and shield-piercing missiles. Their orders were simple: remove the unknown ship and send a warning to Earth. But as the fleets reached the outer edge of the system, they stopped. The obsidian wind had turned. It didn't open fire. It didn't run. It simply faced them. As if it was watching, Admiral Varn of the lead fleet opened a channel. "Unidentified ship, you are entering restricted space. Power down and prepare for boarding." No response. The Admiral repeated the command, this time louder and with a threat. Still silence. Then one of the ships fired. It was just a warning shot, meant to scare. A single plasma bolt aimed wide. The obsidian wind reacted instantly. In the blink of an eye, it vanished. Not cloaked, not warped, just gone. "Where did it go?" the fleet tech shouted. "We've lost all visual." Panic rippled through the fleet. Then, without warning, it reappeared, inside their formation. Exactly, in the center. Mira sat calmly inside the dark cockpit. She tapped once on the panel. "Defense mode, disable only." The ship responded faster than thought. One by one, systems aboard the Empire's ships shut down. Lights flickered. Weapons went cold. Engines failed. In less than 10 seconds, the entire fleet was helpless, floating in space like broken toys. Mira took a breath. "Send this recording to Imperial High Command." The ship's AI obeyed, transmitting a simple message. "This is not a threat. This is a demonstration. Do not approach again." Back on Veltrax, the Emperor stood frozen as he watched the footage. The Empire's most advanced fleets had been dismantled without a single shot fired. The silence in the throne room was thick with fear. "Humans," the Emperor whispered. "They were silent for too long." One of his guards leaned close and muttered, "Maybe we should have left Earth alone." But it was too late. The Empire had made its first mistake and humanity had just answered. Ghosts of Earth, style third person, simple English. The message from the obsidian wind echoed across the galaxy. In every military base, trading hub, and council chamber, one question now ruled all others. What happened to Earth? Years ago, Earth had gone silent. No trade, no signals, no messages. Many thought the humans had destroyed themselves. Others believed they had simply given up. But now the truth was clear. They hadn't disappeared. They had been preparing, and a cold mining moon near the edge of the Empire. An old data collector named Relo stared at a blinking message he never thought he'd see again. It was a human code. Ancient, forgotten, but unmistakable. He opened it. One line flashed on his screen: "Earth remembers." Rilo stepped back, shaking. "They never left," he whispered. Back aboard the Obsidian Wind, Mira watched as the disabled Imperial fleet slowly powered down their systems and limped away. She didn't smile. She didn't feel proud. She only felt the weight of what was coming. "Why me?" she asked aloud. The ship's AI answered softly. "Because they'll believe you." Mira had been chosen not just for her skill, but because she was normal. She represented what Earth had become: quiet, serious, focused. The time for diplomacy was over. Now it was about warning the galaxy. Activate Phase 2, she ordered. The obsidian wind pulsed with light. In the blackness of space, 12 more signals came online. Across different sectors of the galaxy, cloaked human ships revealed themselves one by one, each of them built from the same dark alloy, all silent, all waiting, every major trade lane, every imperial stronghold. Every place that once laughed at Earth now faced a shadow. The humans had built an invisible wall around the galaxy, and no one even knew how. Back in the imperial capital, General Marin stared at the new reports. 12 ships, maybe more, he said slowly. Where did they get the resources? No one answered. The truth was simple and terrifying. Earth had been forgotten. But Earth hadn't forgotten the galaxy. And now, Earth had returned. Warnings ignored. Style, third person, simple English. The Imperial Senate was in chaos. Leaders argued. Some shouted to launch a full invasion of Earth. Others begged for peace. Many just stared at the holomap, where 12 human warships blinked like silent eyes watching every corner of the galaxy. They have not attacked, said Counselor Bren. That means they want peace. General Marin shook his head. Peace? They disabled an entire fleet without touching us. That's not peace. It's power. The Emperor stayed silent, his gaze locked on the flickering image of the obsidian wind. Deep down, he knew something had changed forever. Then a report came in. One of the Empire's smaller patrol groups had ignored the warning and attempted to board a human ship near the border. The message was clear. No aggression, no weapons, only a scan. The result? All 3 Imperial vessels vanished, not destroyed, not disabled, just gone. Not even wreckage remained. The room fell silent. What happened to them? Someone asked. No, one had an answer. Back on the obsidian wind, Mira sat alone, staring at the stars. Her hands were steady, but her heart was heavy. She hadn't wanted any of this, but Earth had made a choice. Never again would they be seen as weak. The ships, AI spoke. Another fleet approached. They attempted contact, then attempted scan override. Defensive system responded. Mira nodded slowly. Were there survivors? None detected. She leaned back and whispered, "This is how it begins." Far away on a desert planet ruled by the Empire, an old trader spoke to a group of young workers in hushed tones. "I was there," he said. "On Earth, long ago, before the silence." They leaned in. They were quiet people. Kind, smart, but proud. They never forgot an insult, never let a debt go unpaid. One of the workers asked, "So why did they disappear?" The old man smiled sadly. "Because they were building something that could never be taken from them again." A long pause followed. Then, the old man added, "And now they've come back to remind the stars. Earth's message, style, third person, simple English." The 12 human ships held position. Days passed, but not a single shot was fired. No demands, no invasions, just silence. That silence was more terrifying than war. In the Imperial core, every sensor station ran full scans day and night. Engineers searched for weaknesses. Diplomats prepared peace offers. But no one knew what Earth truly wanted. Then a signal came through. Not a threat, not a demand, a transmission sent across every open channel. "We are the children of Earth. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek revenge. We seek recognition. You laughed at us. You dismissed us. You feared what we might become. Now you see it. We are not here to destroy the galaxy, but we will no longer be ignored." The voice was calm, clear, human. In thousands of systems, people stopped to listen. Some felt awe, others, fear, but none could deny what was now true. Earth had returned, and it had returned with something the Empire didn't understand: control without violence. Back on the obsidian wind, Mira waited. The ship received thousands of responses, threats, offers, confusion. But one message stood out. It came from a quiet colony in the mid-rim, a message from a small alien family who had once lived on Earth before the blackout. Their message was simple. We remember Earth. Thank you for standing again. Mira. Read it 3 times, and for the first time in days she smiled. In the Empire, leaders whispered behind closed doors. Some spoke of negotiation. Others wanted to retreat, regroup, and build better weapons. But deep down everyone knew. There was no weapon that could fight what Earth had become. It wasn't just ships, it was the idea of Earth. An idea the galaxy could no longer erase. A new order begins. Style 3rd person simple English. Weeks passed. The human ships still held position. They didn't move. They didn't fire. They didn't speak again. But the galaxy had already changed. The Empire's power, once unquestioned, now felt weak in the shadow of those silent ships. Peace treaties began forming in secret. Small governments who once bowed to the Empire now hesitated. Trade guilds started reaching out to Earth colonies. Words like respect, equality, and neutral ground began appearing in official talks. Inside the Obsidian Wind, Mira received a direct message from Imperial High Command. It came not as an order or a threat, but as a request. We would like to meet, not as rulers, not as enemies, as equals. Mira read it quietly. She tapped the ship's control panel and whispered, "Transmit coordinates. Tell them. We'll listen." The ship plotted a course, not to Earth, but to a neutral system, one the Empire could not control. It was time for a conversation. On the capital world of Veltrax, the Emperor stood in silence as the news arrived. His advisors looked to him for orders, but for once he gave none. He simply said, "We must change. The galaxy is not ours anymore." For centuries, the Empire had ruled with fear and force. Now, with no war, no blood, no grand battle, they had been humbled. By a single ship, by a girl from a scrapyard, by a world they had forgotten. In the far corners of the galaxy, young species heard the stories, not of death, not of destruction, but of balance, of a warship that shouldn't exist, of a people who rose without firing a shot, of humans who reminded the stars that silence is not surrender. It is preparation, and from that day forward, one truth echoed across every system, whispered in awe and warning alike. If you see a dark ship with no lights, pray it's just passing by. Because now the galaxy knew that warship was human, and Earth had returned.